You've probably heard the term zero trust floating around a lot lately. It's one of those buzzwords that seems to be everywhere, but it's actually a huge, fundamental shift in digital security. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and demystify what it really means, and more importantly, why it matters so much right now. Okay, let's just start with a question that gets right to the heart of it all. For years, we've thought about security like building a wall to keep bad guys out. But what if the whole game has changed? What if the real danger is already inside your network?
To really get why zero trust is such a game changer, you first have to understand what it's replacing. For the longest time, cybersecurity was all built around this idea of a digital fortress. But as you're about to see, the walls of that fortress are completely crumbling.
This tells the whole story. On the left, that's the old way of thinking, the castle and moat. Simple, right? If you made it past the guards and you are inside the castle walls, you are trusted. But look at the new reality. There is no wall anymore. There's no clear perimeter. So the new rule is simple and it's kind of brutal. Trust no one. We've gone from defending a single boundary to defending every single resource.
So why is that old model so broken? Well, just look at how we work now. The perimeter has vanished because we're all working remotely. Our data isn't in one place anymore. It's spread out across different clouds like AWS and Azure. We're logging in from phones, tablets, laptops, you name it. And maybe most importantly, attackers are smarter. They're not just trying to break down the front door. They're stealing a key, your login credentials, and just walking right in.
All right, so if the fortress is toast, what do? We can't just leave the gates wide open, right? Well, this is exactly where the zero trust philosophy comes in. It's a completely different way of looking at the problem. And here it is. This is the mantra. If you remember one single thing from this entire explainer, let it be these 4 words. This is the heart and soul of the whole strategy. Never trust, always verify. That simple mantra is the foundation for what's officially called a zero trust architecture, or ZTA. It's basically a security framework where nobody, and I mean nobody, gets a free pass just for being on the network. Every single request to access anything has to be checked and checked again, every single time. Now, that might still sound a little abstract, so here's a fantastic analogy to make it click. In the old castle model, getting on the network was like being handed the master key to the entire building. You could go anywhere. With zero trust, nope. It's like you're given a temporary key card that only opens the one specific room you need, and only for the 5 minutes you need to be in there. The second you're done, that access is gone. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the how. How does this whole continuous verification thing actually work in the real world? You gotta remember, zero trust isn't some magic box you just plug in. It's a whole strategy, and it's built on these core pillars. It starts with identity, proving you are who you say you are, with things like multi-factor authentication. Then it checks that the device you're using is secure and healthy. It gives you the absolute least amount of access you need to do your job and nothing more. It also puts up tiny firewalls inside the network to stop an attacker from moving around. And, of course, it's constantly monitoring everything for anything that looks weird. Now, this all sounds pretty amazing, right? But let's be real. Implementing a strategy this comprehensive is a huge undertaking. So it's super important to look at both sides of the coin here, the incredible benefits it brings and the very real hurdles organizations are going to face trying to get there. Let's start with the payoff, because honestly, it is massive. Zero trust shrinks the number of things an attacker can even try to hit. And if an employee's account does get compromised from, say, a phishing email, the damage is contained. The attacker is stuck in a tiny box. They can't move laterally across the network to find the important stuff. This makes it pretty much the perfect model for how we all work today, from anywhere, on any device. But here's the reality check. This isn't easy. Just figuring out what all your digital assets even are can be wildly complex. A lot of older legacy systems just don't play nicely with these new tools. It also takes a real cultural shift, getting employees used to verifying who they are more often. And maybe the most crucial point is that you can't just go out and buy zero trust. It's a long-term strategy, not a quick fix product. So yeah, there are challenges, for sure. But despite all of that, the verdict is pretty much in. Zero trust isn't just a passing fad or a cool trend. It is, quite simply, the future of security. And hey,
You don't have to take my word for it, just look at the numbers. This data from Gartner is pretty stunning. Back in 2021, only about 10% of organizations had really embraced zero trust. By 2025, that's projected to shoot up to 60%. That's not just growth, that's a full-blown revolution in the industry. And this shift is being taken seriously at the highest levels. It's not just companies trying to get a competitive edge. You've got governments, like the US federal government, straight up mandating zero trust across all their agencies. When national security is on the line, this is seen as a non-negotiable, necessary evolution. So we'll end with this one final thought, bringing us right back to the beginning. For decades, we built our digital security on a foundation of trust. But in our modern world, where there's no perimeter and the lines are all blurred, we have to ask a really tough question. Has the very idea of trust become our single biggest vulnerability? Zero Trust argues that the answer is a hard yes.